So anyway, I'm Pat.
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Happy New Year. But yeah, just to get back into this. So like, all right. So if it has like asset, I take it you're using assets from.
it's got a humongous. We're talking about Unreal 5 and
Okay.
my journey to learn it over Christmas break. Um,
Okay. So like when you go ahead and peel something out of there, like you're doing, right? And you're
yeah,
going to use that, right? So you can basically like put that in there, but you can also look at the code that makes that thing, right?
yeah, but I haven't done that.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I'm sure that there's a shitload of code that makes. So like the thing that I'm using is this bot that comes with the game,
Okay.
and it's basically a player controllable dude. All right, who's fully animated. It's a robot.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you can just use that. You can put different skins on it, all kinds of different stuff. But that's not. I haven't gotten that far yet. So right now, I basically am controlling this sausage-looking thing. It looks like a pill capsule.
All right.
It's a shape that I've taught it how to jump and strafe,
All
and
right.
yeah, and then it had me make these like spinning things that look like a blender blade. And
All right.
I've got it, so I figured out how to make them go faster, slower, clockwise or counterclockwise, and stuff like that. And then if it hits you, it does damage, so you have to create a hit box on yourself, but a
Yeah.
hurt box, which is something I'd never heard of. Okay,
Oh, this is.
I'd never heard of that.
Oh boy. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, this is fighting game community shorthand. So
totally, totally. Yeah, but I didn't realize you had to tell the other thing that it can hurt you.
yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. I didn't. I was like, whatever. It's bullets,
Totally
whatever,
okay.
man.
Right.
So I figured out how to do all that, with this thing, and now it's like asking me, well, you design a couple levels for yourself on this thing, and so it's like cool, but I'm already looking to the next project, which is like a 3D stationary runner with procedurally generated obstacles coming at you.
All right.
So I was like, oh, that sounds fucking fun. It's like the Star Wars trench.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I in this course that I'm doing, I get to do that. I get to do like this. It's like a 3D world with a plane that you can fly through, okay, and shoot things, but it's within a given map. So that's like the third project. And then the last one's actually just to do a FPS, a shooter. So I was like, all right, cool. So
Wow.
working through it, man. So and it's not easy. Like every time you do something, you're like, why doesn't this fucking work? But then like I'm pretty good at diagnosing my own mistakes. So I mean, I do coding all the time for my statistics work. And so it's like, oh, well, there's the fuck up right there. Okay, so I'll go back and fix it. It's just I don't know what everything is. So yet.
That's interesting. And it sounds like some of oddly enough, it sounds like some of what you already did just kind of transfers over to that
It does
in
a
a way
little
that sort
bit.
of makes sense.
Yeah, well, I've
Yeah.
done a lot of. So the coding, the blueprints on that, they kind of make intuitive sense to me
Do
because
they?
I've
Okay.
I've done a lot of flowchart shit over the years,
Sure.
man.
All
And
right.
like just about every statistical analysis that I've run's got some kind of flowchart logic to it. Like I used to teach a class on Microsoft Project, so I mean, I know how to
I
do.
never used it.
Yeah, there's not really a reason to use it unless you're building a fucking house,
Oh, all
yeah,
right.
or something like that, But I mean, it's not something that you do to like plan a shopping trip, you
Hmm.
know. So, but it's eerily similar to that. So in terms of like, okay, what needs to go first? Okay, this result, and you gotta start thinking binary. Everything's on or off. Okay, so there's a lot of if checks and stuff like that, where it's like if this is true, then this. If this is not true, then this. And then it throws it back into the loop. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I get that. But like some of the stuff in there, like programming, like the keys, like for animation and stuff like that. That's all in there. Or you don't have to sit there and hard code all that shit.
Hmm.
It's already in there. So like it knows. It's like, oh, okay, so we know that W means up. or forward or whatever.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's like you can set that, and it's like, okay, fine. That's your controller package that you're going to use for this, and I can even do it with my fucking Xbox controller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's easy. So, but you don't have to sit there and code all that because millions of people have already done that. It's already baked into the software package, and so it's like, oh, okay, cool. So I have to decide what it is that I'm trying to make, and then like work with the tools that I've got. So because you do have to program things in there like collisions, where it's like, okay, this hits that. That means that this gets hurt. So,
Right.
and by this much, and this is what happens to your health bar. I don't have a health bar. I haven't gotten that far yet. If I get hit by one of the rotating fucking blades, my little pill dies.
Okay.
So, well, it doesn't even die. It just starts the whole thing over.
Right.
So yeah, So, but it's interesting. So, and it's powerful shit, and it's free. So I was kind of surprised by that. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, it's free. So they walk through all the licensing stuff in the beginning. It says you don't owe us any money until you make $1 million. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I'll use this one, man.
Pat, and frankly, I think if you did, you'd be happy to pay.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
because you only pay after you've made that
Right.
first million. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's a great big Lego set, is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just don't know how all the pieces work, but like it's got a free asset library that is fucking humongous, and I
Right.
was just having fun poking around in that for a little bit. I was like, oh, I recognize this tree. I've seen it in about 1,000 different games.
I was going to say,
It's like this sky looks familiar.
is it easy to get lost in there and just sort of just play with the stuff that's in there and just an afternoon disappears?
No, because it's like really picky about certain things. So you have this thing called the gizmo, and then you can, populate that with an asset, but the asset has to be assigned to, a scene, and it has to like have definitions. Is this something that's clickable? Is it something that's not clickable? So it's actually really complicated in that it's not something where you just like shake out the box and say, I want to put trees over here.
Gotcha.
And stuff, it's like, okay, I fiddled around with it for a little bit. And then all my, like the couple trees and bushes that I planted were like sinking into the ground. And spinning and things like that, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, so let me go do this course. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. No, that actually sounds familiar. That's that goes back to the old animation programs that we used to play with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but it's interesting. So yeah, I bought a course, and I signed up for it like on, I guess, Sunday night after we got done. It was like $150.
Okay.
I was like, well, let me throw it in my wish list. Sure enough, later, within 24 hours, they say, hey, you want to do this for $30? I was like, yeah, actually, I do.
Wow. All right.
It's the old
All right.
Steam trick. Just throw it in your wish bucket, and if there's a sale out there, man, it finds you. Sale finds you.
Okay. Yeah.
So that worked out pretty good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, man.
I was gonna say, yeah. This is. It sounds like it's got you. Like it's got kind of sunk its hooks into you.
I can only do it for so long, so it is a little frustrating. So yeah.
Well, following the instructions doesn't sound like it, when you're following along with the guy's course.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah. I mean, there's only been a couple times where I had to rewatch shit or like look into it, because they give you a lot of documentation with it too. And I was like, I gotta look this up. And honestly, it's faster. There's so many people that take that course, so you just Google it. So it's like, do this. And I was like, oh,
Sure.
thanks. Hi, it spins the right way now. So,
There you go, man. That's the benefit of all the shared knowledge that we have in the universe right now.
oh yeah, you know what? I didn't think to ask ChatGPT yet. Might try that next time.
You know what? That's a good point.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I might try that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, so that's been my couple days. What about you, dude?
I do. I had some work to do, but more so, the office, if you want to call it that, made an impromptu trip to Turkey. So
Did they invite you?
No, and we're I guess we're talking impromptu, as in 2 days notice. So
That's pretty impromptu.
that was pretty impromptu. I don't know the full details.
Sounds
I,
awful, James Bondy.
I,
Wait a minute, it relocated from California to Turkey?
no, 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 not relocated.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the principal, the namesake of the company disappeared to Turkey within a few days' time. Ergo, huh?
That's interesting.
Yeah, via airplane. It seems, and I can't confirm everything here, this seems brought on by a domestic argument, so we just wait this one out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yay, the
all we
pleasures
can
of
do.
small business.
That's all we
Yeah.
can do. So I got how did I get back into this? This was something that that I ended up posting about was there was this video about there's a company that was doing a not a company but basically like a mod team that was doing Morrowind in Skyrim.
Okay.
So that's basically an entirely new game in that engine.
Right.
And the question was are you ready? You know, what's your gaming 2025 look like? And what happened was I accidentally started up a game of Dead Cells the other day, so my 2025 is spoken for.
What is Dead Cells?
Dead Cells it's a game that's been around for, I think, came out in 2016.
Oh, wow.
This is your classic quote-unquote roguelike where you are expected to die on a regular basis.
Oh, so like Souls.
Yeah. I mean, in a very, very basic sense. I mean, because this is two-dimensional.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so this is it's something that I have dabbled on and off with for years. I can't remember why I threw a hissy fit at it last time, but it had been 2 or 3 years since I picked it up, and I was just in the mood to play, and now I am suckered back.
It's got its hooks in you.
Now when I'm asked to go back to work, I don't know if I'm gonna. I think
I'm gonna play video games. You know?
because I had not. I gotta tell you, I had not been into anything games wise for a while. I just hadn't been. I just the last thing I tried to get into was I can't even remember, but it was so disappointing that like I was starting to think that I had aged out.
Oh, yeah, I gotcha.
I don't know if you ever go through that. But,
yeah, sometimes like I have, but it's usually with genres.
Yeah,
So
I
more
suppose that
so
makes sense.
like I know we played Age of Empires. I know that I've aged out of RTSs. I can't do it. So I just don't have the RAM to be able to do that, man. And now if they made a chill one out there, like Manor Lords is kind of like that, you know, where like, okay, you get attacked every now and then. It's like, great.
Does Manor Lords have a multiplayer component or
I
not?
don't think so, but they're still working on it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Or is this one of the cases where they made enough money on the alpha that they're never gonna?
I'm suspicious that might be the case.
They're gonna Valheim this
Yeah,
one?
they might Valheim this one out. So, oh fuck, I could play that again. Actually, I could play Valheim again. I haven't touched that in probably a year
for
and
a
a
couple
half.
afternoons, man.
I know. I'm not gonna like completely get back into it. I mean, I've got my go-to games where it's just go in and fuck around, you know, kind of games. You know, that might be one of them. But yeah, no, it's been a little while since I actually game beat me. You know, so I mean, in terms of just like interest, I guess okay. So the last one was actually Fallout New Vegas. So
Oh, okay.
I got to start that one up again. I just haven't done it yet. So
Yeah, you weren't tired of it, right? You weren't like
no, it was ugly though. So
That's why,
yeah, it's really hideous. So, but I like the concept behind it.
I mean, I do believe out there is you may even be using it. I believe there's a non-ugly mod out there.
I've kind of taken a stance against the mod community.
That's weird. All right.
I guess, man. I don't know. So on my other YouTube channel, where I play a modded version of a game,
Oh.
I've been playing that modded well, I stopped. I wrapped that series up finally. All right, maybe like 2 months ago.
All right.
So, but anyway, I was like, all right, in the future, I'm not going to fuck with mods anymore, okay? Because I had to keep that game basically on life support for a year and a half.
What do you mean?
Well, the mod community died. So, and the guy who wrote the mod just like vanished, okay?
Okay.
And then so new guys came out, put new mods in, and the dev came back and actually wrote an update for the entire thing, which I couldn't play because it broke my mod. So yeah, and so I'm kind of like, you know what? In the future, I'll play it as the Lord intended her.
What did you modify? What would you change?
Well, they added a whole new campaign that made the game much bigger than it was before.
The mod team did?
The mod team,
shit.
a
Okay.
guy did that. So yeah, you know. And I mean, it didn't change a lot of the fundamental mechanics of the game, but it just increased its scope greatly, which was nice. So, and now that I can kind of see, you know, I mean, I'm not there yet. I'm certainly not going to get into modding. But, you know, I can kind of see what he did. It was like, oh, okay, I think I get what you did here, you know? And it was like, that was a lot of work, but it wasn't hard work. It was just a lot.
It's just a lot of
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah, no, I get that. So, but then, you know, people see me playing this mod. They're like, how do I load this mod? I was like, you don't. It'll break your shit. So,
Right.
well, I see you playing with it. I was like, right. That's because my shit's broke. You know? So, you know, and then just like, I don't know, man. So that whole thing, don't listen to the fans. Someone put this really good the other day. There was a podcast that I was listening to. I was talking about not listening to the fans when it comes to games. It was like, listen to their complaints, never their solutions. I was like, oh, that's brilliant.
I think that's
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's perfect. Yeah. So listen to their problems, not their solutions. So yeah, and so like, you know, modding seems to be a solution that one guy does because he doesn't like this aspect of this game. And sometimes that works for a lot of people. Okay. So, but still at the same point in time, like it's not a solution that's designed to help the entire community, shall we say. Does that make sense?
Right. So okay. So there are certain things. I guess there are different style of mods because ultimately what you're talking about is, if anything, it would be more akin to like an expansion pack.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Now there are certain things. If we are to go back to cities for just a moment, as we must, like the improved water tool, for example.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's something that should be in the game. I get why it's not.
Move It should be in the fucking game.
That's exactly it, right? There are a couple things in there that should be in the game. Probably disabled by a checkbox or something, because there are certain things where, so the problem with the water tool is you can flood the map accidentally. You can cause all sorts of, because like when you mess with the base level of the water on the whole map.
Oh yeah, because the whole map. I mean, water and skylines reacts about as fast as peanut butter.
It does.
On a hot day.
And
yeah.
you go do something else there, and your entire place floods. And then
and that's how you see some cars floating by.
That's correct.
Kind of like, wait a minute.
You do, yeah. You see this. You see this city just encased in like barely wobbling hair gel, and
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah,
it is.
It's like aloe vera.
It really does. Yeah, and you don't know why that happened. You don't know why it's springing out of what looks like dirt, in certain places. So it's a little bit wacky. That's where one of those things where it's like, put it behind this menu and put a checkbox there that says, "Hey, if you mess with this, this might happen," instead of going back like on an autosave, like, when did this fuck up?
Yeah, exactly.
So that I get, but that's something where, like, per the game, when you're doing things like, all I want to do is put a lake here. The base game doesn't let me do a lake well without these water tools, because otherwise you do this like filling and flatlining and all this stuff, and it drives, and like, it's stupid. Life isn't like this.
Yeah.
You know? So those kind of things I get. And then there's the other part.
Yeah, like tools. Yeah.
Tools, that's the thing. And then there's the component, the other piece of like, are the character models butt ugly? Can that be fixed?
Right? On Starfield this.
Could we please? Yes. Yes.
Actually, that's one thing that I noticed about that after playing New Vegas and Fallout 4. It was like, oh man, they're still using the same engine to do all this.
Their hands move in the same way.
Well, and they stare you down in all three games.
It's
so yeah,
creepy.
Yeah, they stare you down.
It made sense in Fallout because it was back then.
Yeah,
but by Starfield, they should not
be like that.
They should not be interrogating you with their fucking eyes.
No.
Yeah.
No. And their fucking Muppet teeth.
And their Muppet again. Like if you're going to do this thing where, all right, let's suppose that you don't want to fix that. You're just kind of you have that discussion with the team, and they're like, "We could fix it." And they're like, "No." I'm like, all right, so be it.
Yeah.
So maybe do something else where instead of just zooming in on that one person, maybe go to a slightly different camera angle. Maybe make it so it changes. Maybe
well, and I mean and that's the thing that I suspect is there's something that does not allow them to do that.
And that is
there's something in the way that thing was originally built. Because I'm starting to see that just with my little foray into my, side swiping game.
Right.
Here. If you make some decisions early on, and then you build the entire Coliseum on top of that, you're kind of stuck with it, man.
Building's tilting. It's going to tilt.
It's going to tilt, yeah.
Just get used to it, changing degrees every 50 years, man. Because it's going to be that way.
It's going to be that way. Yeah. No, you kind of see that, And so, and I'm understanding that with mods, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, hey, I know it seems really easy, and this guy modded it, but you don't understand how many fucking things that breaks in this game. So,
no, you're right, because it's basically it's like hinging like 14 years of living on basically a lie that you told in 1994.
Right, yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah.
And so you have been telling lies.
I'm not a dentist. Oh my god.
You've been telling lies to cover up other lies for the better part of 15 years, and then suddenly it catches up to you, and you're like, I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah. I'm nobody. It's all lies. Yeah. No, I can kind of see how that happens, man, because there are some decisions that you have to make up pretty early, like camera's a big one. It's like, what role does that play in a scene? Okay, so and now I look at games like The Witcher where everything is a fucking cutscene. Those are individually filmed, so that is not done with like some guy in the game hitting the record button. That is not how that works.
No, but they're done with in-game assets.
Of course, you can make movies with Unreal.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So but they're all staged. So
No, but this isn't like the PlayStation 1 days where you would play with these very polygonal characters and then the cutscenes would be rendered in something different where it's basically playing like a video.
Yeah.
No, it's basically still using the in-game assets instead of basically like an FMV.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's exactly what it is. So. But you can see how that's a big decision that you have to make in the beginning. This is like, are we going to actually have individualized cutscenes, or are we going to use in-game assets, or because think about that in like The Witcher where they have those scenes where you're talking to somebody, and the dialogue tree goes in 4 different directions. That's 4 different times they have to do that scene.
Right.
So, and that's a one-shot deal. You're only going to get to that part of the game once. So that's a fuckload of work. So for considering that everybody's only going to see a quarter of the work, depending on what they say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, so I can kind of see why Starfield and its stare down people. Well, it's kind of baked into the cake, man.
It is. And I presume that there's a piece of it that the reason they do that is because it zooms in on that person. And I presume that it sets all of the other checks out there to like false, right? So the world basically stops when you're talking to that person.
Yeah, but in Starfield it doesn't. So it's hilarious.
This is the thing, because you've probably seen the clips there where like Trevor is trying to talk to Franklin, and some dude just keeps kicking his ass over and over and over again during the conversation.
I've seen all the Red Dead ones where somebody's getting mauled by a cougar. So while they're talking to John Marston, yeah, it's great.
I think I saw one specifically like that where like a bunch of dudes were getting throttled while they were building a house.
Yeah.
I think
That's
so.
in Red
Yeah.
Dead too. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is.
I seem to recall laughing my
That,
balls off at it
it's
because
hilarious, yeah, because Uncle's getting mauled by a cougar. Yeah. So while it's playing the ding dong 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 music, well, it's supposed to have this like heartwarming moment where you're
Yeah.
building the ranch,
Yeah.
and but it's a cutscene, but those are done in game.
Yeah.
Okay, so which is something that Rockstar did, but CDC Project Red did not do that. So their cutscenes are staged, so all of them. So and you can tell that once you like kind of realize it's like, oh, so you had to make that decision like right away. And okay, so we're gonna build the Coliseum on it, man. I mean, you might want to stamp the ground a little bit first. So who knows? So, but yeah,
You might want to, or sometimes you turn to somebody. It's like, hey, I'd like to change this, and you say, well, we've already put 30 hours into it, so we can scrap it, or we can leave it as is. You can work around it.
yeah. Well, sometimes that happens, but the other thing is like you do run into situations where you just got bigger fish to fry, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, does this work? It's like, yes, but.
Well, we'll take the butt. Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's nice that you're getting in there, seeing how the sausage is made, man. That's a neat side of it. It sounds like I don't know what your creative side is calling out for, but it sounds like it's sort of like
It's been overdue.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about getting back into trains, and I just can't do it right now, man. So, I don't want to work with my hands. So, like I've got like 3 model kits that I've bought in the last like 4 years. They're all sitting unopened. Even though they're great models and there's stuff that I'd like to have around my house, but I'm kind of like, nah, so I need something else for it. So, and I mean, I spent enough time like doing my school shit. So that managed to kill off most of my fucking hobbies, and so now it's like, all right, I don't have to do that anymore. So what do I want to do? And I was like, okay, I've got probably enough life and bandwidth to pick up one more serious skill set.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the last 3 years, I've been spending a lot of that on cooking. So I've gotten very good at that. So
That makes sense. Yeah.
YouTube made all the difference, dude. So there was something about like reading a recipe and then not doing it and then watching a guy do it and saying, okay, I get it. So,
Well, because when you read about it, it's alchemy. When you watch somebody do it, it becomes just practical science.
exactly.
Yes.
Well, even if it's just practical science, it's like, oh, well, there's nothing magic about this guy. He just, he's like, oh, so that's what it's supposed to look like. He's like, oh, got it. Yeah, I let it boil too long. Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, and then like that and baking, and so yeah, I got enough bandwidth for one last skill set. And the cool thing about this one is it brings a lot of things together because I know how to do the math on a lot of these things. So I've always had a little bit of an inclination towards like if I can figure out a computer program, I usually lick it pretty hard. So
Yeah, you do.
it takes me a little time.
Yeah.
Well, you're the same way. I mean, we both learned native saber, so and I mean, once I got through it, I was like, oh fuck, this okay. I understand the logic behind this piece of shit program.
The saber was just kind of. I feel like it was like this is what it is. Yeah, it's the. I feel like it was more memorization than anything else.
Totally was.
It's just
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
stringing things together where it was
Exactly.
like the codes. Yeah, but
exactly. Once you knew how to string those things together, build fair codes and stuff like that,
Yeah.
it was like okay, this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So. But these are programmed in Fortran, so of course you're like, like there's no logic behind it. All it does is calculate things and store it in a database. That's all it does. And so all you're doing is telling the database to update itself to reflect this. Like this guy wants a different seat. Okay,
Right.
That's all you're doing. But once they did that, I was like, okay, I get this.
and then once you do that, it then locks it out for other people where it's like, oh, that's been sold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it all pulls from the same res.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, no, and that's, I mean, and so like this one now, like everything's much more visual. So like the last time I was programming, I did a whole class in C, and then another one in Visual Basic, which was basically something that sat on top of C. So
Right.
and I got pretty good at that. But that was Jesus, that was 20 years ago.
Do you remember much about it at all? Or?
Hmm. I mean, remember like the basics that are kind of important, like if statements. I know what a variable means, so I know what a library is. So I know you have to allocate and reallocate memory, so things like that. I do remember that. So you don't have to do any of that with Unreal. So it's like okay, it's fine. But just like understanding the flow logic is like okay, that makes sense. All right, so it needs to perform this calculation to give this value over here, and then there's check on that value to see can I jump past this motherfucker? Whatever. So yeah, there's a little creative side, and yeah, and there's like already like a couple games that I think I could make that.
That's cool.
It might take me a little bit, but it'll be really simple. But I think it'd be fun, and I think I could make that. So
dude, and it's different now. I mean, again, it's like we've talked about the way that this has changed. Like I've seen people playing this game called Balatro, that card game, and people are going nuts for it. I can see the fun of it. I don't want to get started just in case it hooks me in, but I can see the fun of this. And this is what I'm talking about: is the big sellers and the huge games are not those big studios anymore. The last of them, Ubisoft is dead after this. They're actively looking for a seller or a buyer to basically liquidate their shit. They're
gonna part the thing out. So
you know what?
There's a ton of them out there like that though, man. So there's just like I've been watching a couple things lately.
Have you?
Just on the games industry in general, and not from the fucking Walking Dead over there at IGN or Kotaku or whatever.
You wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah, but you.
So I'd have to. I'd pluck out my own eye.
Yeah, it's the industry is for me, all this stuff is extremely positive, right? For the most part. I mean, there are certain things where there are a few places where yes, Call of Duty is still fine.
It's gonna be fine.
They do fine because they're actually very consistent. Madden. Yeah, they're always going to have some form of Madden, basketball, those other things.
FIFA. Yeah, they're all going to be out there.
And they should be.
Yeah,
that's like exactly what they were 25 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and some of these guys that I've been listening to, and they're kind of new to me, so I don't know which ones are full of shit yet.
Oh, it's this.
So it's just like a couple different things that I've been following online. With guys who are in game development and things like that. And like they were talking about how like 2024 has been an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah.
So, and there's good and bad about that. They said like there's still big money out there that is willing to sink $500 million into a game. So if they think they're going to, sell, 200 million copies of it.
Yeah.
So over the course of 2 years. So, but the problem with those is like GTA 6 is basically going to be GTA 5 in a different setting. So, Red Dead 3, if it ever gets made, is going to be that way. The Witcher 4, they were talking about that. It's going to be basically the same thing, And so, like, you're going to see, like, exactly, games are going to go the exact same way that Hollywood has gone with the large AAA titles. And then, like, the thing is that this guy was pointing out something that I hadn't really thought about. So he's like, okay, so, it used to be if you had a $2 million budget, I mean, you could get 5 guys together and basically work on a game for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So, and then you would have time to think about it. You would have time to kind of marinate in it. You would have time to make corrections, play test it a lot. He's like, now if I got a $500 million budget, okay, and I've got a 100-person staff from day one, I have to put those 100 people to work.
Yeah.
So, because otherwise I'm going to lose my funding. They're going to say, what the fuck are you doing with my money? So, and then, but he says that's that. And this guy was actually talking about Starfield in particular. And so he was like, this is what you get is you get a game that's like 5 different games glued together. Yeah. So that's supposedly, supposed to be a new IP for Bethesda. Okay. But eventually the pressure gets too high and you don't have the time to kind of like soak. And it's just like, hey, what does this game actually do? So, what's fun about this, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and this guy was actually talking about Cyberpunk was the same way. So when it first started out, so he said we had to get it out. That studio was on the verge of bankruptcy. So and then nobody was going to get nothing, and so you got to punch it out. Then we got enough life breathed in the beginning, where rather than we dish out all the bonuses, now we save that money away, sock away, and fix the game over the course of the next year. So,
Well, and they banked enough goodwill with their previous games that people
Correct.
cut them a break.
they did.
So here's the thing.
But people aren't doing that to Skylines too. So
Well, they won't do it with The Witcher 4.
I don't know if it's bad or if it's good.
Well,
We'll have to see.
Well, no.
yeah.
What I'm saying is the so everybody that basically pre-ordered, they bought Cyberpunk. Okay, there's a lot of people that I bought it. I bought it like day one. I didn't play
think
it
I
for
did,
like
too.
I got started and then something about it was like, this is stupid, and then I put it down. I may have been in the middle of something else and then came back to it, and I had a good time. But yeah, at the very beginning, it didn't drag me in, and so I had some of the problems that other people did.
Yeah, I did too.
But not to the extent that a lot of people were saying this is crashing, stuff like that. But because of the other games that they had, and they'd had success with, people were willing to come back and say like, "Hey, I'll wait for this to get good. I'll wait for this to change." So long that they managed to get that goodwill back with Edge Runners and with Phantom Liberty.
Edge Runners really helped.
Yeah,
A lot.
Yeah, actually, there was
Yeah.
you could see the spike there, and people came back. I was like, "Oh, this is cool." But
What was the other? They did that with Fallout not too long ago because of that TV show.
yeah,
You're right.
sure did. And as a matter of fact, they put out a you get everything for one low price bundle.
Yeah, they did. I got it.
That's the one you bought. Okay,
the winner
yeah.
of the winner of the Fallout sale, the Fallout fall sale.
There you go.
Yeah, it was.
All right.
I got everything. It was like, it wasn't that expensive. It was like $25.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I got everything. I was like, well, okay, great. Because my other copy of Fallout 4 is sitting over there in that brick.
Yeah. So
I think I could get it out with a fork.
so people were willing to give them that opportunity, but after you do that once, right? Because if people don't think that your game is going to ship in a state that's meaningful at the beginning, they won't buy it at the beginning.
No, and they're still trying to figure out exactly how to do that. I mean, I know like there's a lot of like backlash going on against early releases now, just because like it kind of works for some, like, but there's been a few people who've like severely abused it over the course of the last year.
Oh, okay. Okay,
and so
yeah,
now people
yeah.
are like really suspicious. So, and I mean, that's even true in the small circle of games that I kind of pay attention to. There's a big one that came out this year, and I was excited to play it and everything. And then, I didn't pull the trigger on it, man, because I was like, it says early access. So, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it runs kind of janky, and it's not done. So I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger on it. So yeah, I just waited a couple weeks for a couple YouTubers to get out there. And then you got to give them a couple weeks because they got to milk it for content for a little bit.
Right.
But then if they stop playing it after a couple weeks, you know what's up. So it's like, wait a minute, there's only 8 scenarios in this game. Fuck that.
Well,
So,
that's also that's the other component that I kind of know about myself with alphas and early releases, right? Is I know that usually when I get into something here, so let's go ahead and use that Valheim example for reference here.
Okay.
When Valheim came out, there was no stopping me from playing it nonstop
For like 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
I was right there with you, man.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. We played together a few times, that kind of thing, having a good time. You took it on vacation. I
did.
Yep. And we're just playing this game like crazy. And then you hit the end point. I got to the end point. And I understand that there's been things that have been released, but the thing is, I will never get back into it as heavy as I did that first time. And that's the thing is, if you put out an alpha and you get my attention and I play it like crazy, or a beta, there's a good chance that I may not want to come back for the
No,
for
you're
the
going to
rest of the
shelve it
content.
and put it back up there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like that, man. I mean, there's like a small set of games that make it to my play forever kind of categories.
Right.
Where I will literally, I mean, for me, it's either 10 hours, like 60 hours, or 600 hours.
Right.
There's like a 3-tier system.
It is. You have it's by tens. You're probably
it's magnitudes of order, yeah.
10, 100, 1,000.
Yeah, it actually goes down to 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Too. Like a piece of shit won't load.
Well, either won't load or it only takes 15 minutes to say, this is not.
No, I can return this within the next 45
That is
minutes.
correct.
To get
Yes.
my money back.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, they fall into that category. So because like I would say, yeah, but like there's a common theme amongst the games that I put in the most time, and they're usually games that don't have like some kind of story to them. So
Sure, yeah.
I think the exception would be Cyberpunk. Although I don't think that I'm up to 600 hours in Cyberpunk. I might be at like 200, 250. I played it twice, so. Yeah.
Even then, that's sort of a. I would argue that you can get maybe, I would say on average, 40 to 60 hours per playthrough, if that,
on Cyberpunk?
depending on how much of the stuff that you do.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about Cyberpunk is like the main story is beefy in that game.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not.
See, that's one thing about that game is it doesn't give you a chance to kind of just like soak it up in the world because it's like, hey, you're gonna die in 2 weeks. Better get moving, buddy.
Well, that's their artificial ticking clock. They don't. Here's the thing: is as you play the game, this is again, here's the thing: is this is just a literary technique. I get it.
Yeah.
And so as you're doing this here, they have those basically those key elements that you have to do, those key missions. But the thing is, as you play the game, as you run around, jumping off the motorcycle and breaking up, something for the cops, or going into it, your character never stops and coughs in his hand, and his vision gets all wacky, and he's just like, oh, my head, oh, it's pounding like a choom, right? He doesn't do that. Or whatever, I don't remember, but it's but
Nova. Got a Delta, man.
It doesn't happen during the game except when you're doing those events.
You're right.
So it never actually feels like the clock is ticking against you.
No.
So to go back to the shitty Fallout games, right? And they're not shitty. It's just
I never played them, so.
Well, we talked about these. It's too video gamey. It is a product of its time.
Yeah.
Right? Those games had a set time limit where you have to, okay, so in the first game, this piece breaks in the vault, right? And it has to be fixed within 200 days.
Oh, okay.
And you have a day counter on your thing.
Okay.
So you have to actually prioritize fucking around with this ticking clock of time that is actually running against you.
Yeah, okay.
And if you lose, if you run out of that's the
game over.
Well, I mean, it's the end of them, right?
Oh, okay.
So that's there is an actual ticking clock element. I don't know.
I don't know if I'd really mind that. 200 days is quite a bit.
Well, it's not 200 real days, but it's 200 game days.
Yeah, I know. Well, I never played it, so I don't know how long that is. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, see, the thing is, I wouldn't... if I were to put that to committee, like right now, if I were to sit down with a group of people at the table, right? I feel like I'd get... if I had 6 people, I'd get 3 answers of one, 3 answers of
You
another.
would. Yeah.
And 3 people would say, I'd love that. And the other 3 people would say...
I hate that.
they'd say, I'm feeling anxiety just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, say, for example, okay, so I would say the biggest change from like the Sims 1 to Sims 2 is what, the kids, or that they grow old? What would you say that the...
Well, you had kids in Sims 1.
Yeah, but they
weren't the same. They didn't go through stages. They came out as kids, and then eventually they... Oh, no, they stayed kids forever, didn't they?
I believe so.
I don't remember. I think you could actually turn that on or off. Age progression, I think you could turn that on or off.
Not in the first game.
Okay, then that must
In
be
the second game, you absolutely
Yeah.
could. As a matter of fact, you could toggle. So your Sims would naturally age in that game, right?
Yeah, and eventually die.
And see, that's the thing. I feel like in that same room, three people would say, "No, I want my Sims to live forever," and the other three would say, "No, that's the part of the game is getting older and dying, right?"
Yeah.
And that's I feel like in that same way
that's why you give them a choice. That makes sense.
But I feel like especially in a game like that, whatever your if it's part of the narrative, right, that you're in this kind of trouble, I feel like this is something that you should bake in.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be your call as, if you're the developer behind the game, you're just going to have to
Yeah.
defend that decision, and say,
Yeah.
like, sorry, guys, it's not that kind of game. So, I
Right.
mean, I do that on my other channel. Hey, can you do those? It's like, sorry, guys, not that kind of channel. So, go check this guy out. So, but like, again, a lot of people don't want to hear that. So, I want to see you do it. It's like, no. Yeah. I don't owe you anything, bro. It's a demonetized channel. Fuck off. So, but still, I can see that as being someone who, if you actually make a game,
Yeah.
just fucking make it and then put it out there. And if people don't like it, then, say, hey, man, that's cool. It's just not for you. So,
Well, this is the tough thing. This is exactly what you're talking about. So the game I mentioned before, Dead Cells, it was made by a team of 8 guys.
yeah.
The team is still 8 guys.
Yeah.
They're about to. I think they just alphaed their next release after 6, 7, 8 years, right? And the team has not changed. They've sold a shit ton of units, DLCs, all that stuff. Love this game, right? But it's still that same small group where you can make those decisions. If you're working at like Ubisoft or something,
You
like
can't
that,
do that.
if you have 100 people working on your team,
You can't fucking
how many people are getting in there to give you notes and say like, these people, marketing says to do this,
Oh,
and
yeah.
these people say to do this, and
Yeah, you got a lot of people at the table. So,
like it would piss me in that same regard. Like if I'm doing Cyberpunk and I say like, look, as per the narratives, like you have to understand, like the thesis of this game is people die, and the clock is ticking against you, and what we want to implement here is that you live a life just like in real life where you may not get to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
But when somebody tells you you have 6 weeks to live, how do you handle that? Right.
yeah.
And you start like we're talking about, it's like you say like, all right, well, I'm gonna put this rebar here underneath the Coliseum. And that's the thing is 5 weeks later they come in there and say like, hey, no, we're not doing that. It's like, but that's the game. It's like,
That's the
not
game.
anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. So you don't sign the checks around here, buddy.
So we focused it, and
Yeah.
they don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and sometimes
Sometimes they're right though.
sometimes they are right. And see, that's the thing about Cyberpunk.
You know?
If you wanted to fix, if I had my magic programming wand,
Hit me.
if
All right,
I
what do you
wanted
got?
to fix Cyberpunk, I would expand Act 1 a lot. Okay, so up to the point in time, so you get a lot more time spending with Jackie, and you get to level up quite a bit.
Okay.
You're not trapped in that one neighborhood for a little bit, and
Yeah.
then you get hit once you're powerful, like level 20 or something like that. Because I think you topped out at 60 or 40 in that game, something like that. So
You know what? I think
you did top out.
I think it changed during the course of the releases.
Oh,
I
you're
think-
right, it did.
I think it originally topped out at like 20 or like 30.
Might have been 30, yeah.
Yeah, and then when they adjusted like the trees and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do, is I would make it so that you're pretty badass by the time you do that Nakatomi Tower thing.
I can't tell you the other name.
It wasn't that, but
It's not Arasaka?
Arasaka, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's right. So you know, because you could do that mission after you'd played the game for maybe like an hour and a half. And you're just a pipsqueak. So, and then like the bad thing is like, by the time you're just a force to be reckoned with, you're like, I feel better than ever, and you're supposed to be on death's door.
That's sort of again. That's the dissonance of the game where
Yeah.
it's like, all right, so I am supposed to feel sick. I'm coughing up blood constantly. I'm talking to imaginary characters in my brain.
Right.
Okay. I picked up this cop and I beat other cops to death with this cop.
You're right. It's like this doesn't see like Red Dead 2. I know you didn't play that one, but Arthur just looks fucking sick.
Does he?
And you're like, oh my god, just please someone put me out of my misery.
Do you have cancer or something?
He had tuberculosis. Oh, so yeah,
He's a lunger?
he's a lunger.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you look it. And he did. And so by the time you get to those that last act, and you're in the shittiest part of America, you just hate it there.
Okay.
Kind of thing. And all your gang is all busted up. And it's like, yeah, let's go find Micah. I'm going to fucking kill him. So, you're just like ready. And so the pacing in that one's a lot better. So, but again, like both those games, story-wise, you're kind of on rails. So, that's why I like, the Fallout's different. Fallout 4 is not.
No.
It tries, but it fucked it up. So it did fuck it up.
It assumes you are so stupid.
Yeah, I know. It just, or Fallout 3, I fucked it up so bad in the first 10 minutes of playing it, and it felt liberating. It's like, wait a minute, I wasn't supposed to kill her. Why did she attack me?
That was your mistake, buddy.
I know,
yeah,
man.
I know.
Yeah, and I had to shoot her dog, too. So,
and just the weirdness of again, that certain things where I don't know how they came to that decision where they're like, all right, so we forced you into this corner. It's like, okay, got it. I guess I saw this coming. It's like, all right. So now, Patrick, you have to choose.
oh, right.
And there's no way to get around this. You say, okay, so I'm going to choose. All right. Now that you've chosen, for reasons, you have to go wipe out one of these guys.
Right, yeah.
Like, why?
Why? What did they do to me?
In fact, I've been helping them for quite a while.
Yeah.
I know dudes in
Those
there.
guys in the steel blimp are pretty cool. So,
Yeah, it is. It is weird. There is. It's like that is. Well, it's Starfieldy. It's kind of.
Oh, Starfield's story was retarded. So, I mean, it was like, so I played it through. The magic of that game is if you make it through one playthrough, the second playthrough unlocks all this fucking dialogue that's fantastic.
It does.
Because you know what happens.
Yes.
Okay? And it just feels totally different. And I did that the second time. I didn't even go to the lodge. I didn't even do anything with the fuckers. I came to the New World in my fucking weird Star Trek ship. Okay, and everybody's like, wow, I've never seen a ship like that before. I was like, no, you haven't. It was like, send me to the nearest mission board because I'm going to be Batman.
This Patrick,
so you're allowed to do things in that game. Then, so the problem with Starfield was that the initial story should have been about 8 hours. Okay, like 8 hours, not 30, 8. It should have been like 5 missions. Okay, and you make it and you figure it out, and now
before you get to the end of the universe.
Yes, you should get to the end of the universe way sooner in that game. So, and then you shouldn't be able to do any of the fucking be the space cowboys. You shouldn't be able to join the Navy. You shouldn't be able to do any of that shit until after you change universes. So because then that's when the RPG would really start. So in that game, because you can just do whatever the fuck you want to do. So
I would argue for the sake of a good fake out, I would think about 15 would be safe to go through that, just so that you could using the conventions of the genre, basically get your toes wet into these kind of things, like play with a faction, something that gives you the sense that okay, I've done this enough before, right? I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Then you go through the end of the universe, and then it's exactly what you're talking about right there.
Yeah,
right?
See, I would not let you do any of the factions. I would have the factions be there, but they're antagonistic towards you. So until you do the Constellations faction first, then you slide through the warp portal, okay, and then you come out the other side. Now you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. So if you want to tip, and that's the other thing that they fucked up about that game is they talk about this war that happened 20 years ago. It should be happening when you're there. So,
okay, either happening when you're there or the impacts of it should be present.
Yes.
I mean, that's the...
Yeah.
to me, this is, again, it's like you took a component of the lore, you put it out there. There's a lot of half-baked shit. Dude, all I'm saying, like, I'm with you. I would implement it a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
I would also play the game you're talking about. See, the thing is, one of those things, you have to pick one of those things and roll with
You
it.
do, yeah.
And that's, like you've talked about here, is like, you cannot, we've said this before, you cannot make a lasagna out of, like, Skittles and, like, ricotta goes, right? That's fine, but that's the thing. These have to be complementary things, and you just have 5 layers of
Skittles, ricotta, and peanut butter.
Dude, fuck yeah! It's peanut butter at the bottom. It's like the next layer is like, I don't even think they're using like pasta there. I think that's actually just like a steakum or
This is wax paper. You got to peel it off.
dude, yeah. And then you get to it and you're like, what the hell is this? It's like, well, this is grape jelly, you know. And it's wacky and it's not cohesive. And I'm with you where any one of those things. That's where I'm saying, like, if you basically let people get to a point, like with a faction or something, where it feels like, okay, I get the sense of where this is going, right? Even if it's just basically like a closed off part of it, where it's just like, hey, welcome aboard, right? But
Okay,
you don't really get
go
to
do like 2 missions with them.
exactly, just enough to let them
be like, well, you'll get your citizenship in 10 more years and another 1,000 missions. Sir.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they start to say that the guys that we really need to look out for are these pirates, and you go ahead and poke around with these pirates, and you get just a little bit involved.
Pirate
in this
one's the one
universe.
that I never did.
They
So-
sucked. They
Did they?
well, they suck. And on
These
top of that,
space communists.
Pat, why was there a whole like contraband system in the game? Like, I never even worried about it with the
No.
cargo. I'm like, this is
No,
so
there were like
pointless.
a dozen places you could go to sell it, not get into trouble. And even if you did get in trouble, it's like, oh, here's my $5 bounty. Let me go sell these $10,000 worth of human organs over here. So,
Thank you much. I mean, there's
this game was very poorly thought out, man.
there's a mission where you are literally going to the upside down,
Oh yeah,
and that seems like that should be the game. But
that was
that's
way more fun than most of the game. Yeah,
where you use that to actually traverse between
that
the
was
two worlds. I was like,
phenomenal.
this is an interesting mechanic.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like you wrote 40 hours for this and cut it down. Like, you had this much done, and they said ship it.
yeah,
This sucks.
yeah. That did suck.
This sucks.
We
yeah.
can go do that mission, and that's a story mission too. So you're kind of like, wait a minute, where the fuck? Can I keep this thing? This
Yeah.
thing's badass,
Yeah.
you know? And they're like, no, you got to give it back. And I'm like,
Well, this alternate universe concept, is this going to come? No, we're going to use it exactly in this one part.
yeah,
And then
That
you
was
get,
dumb.
then you get to the point where you eventually go back to old Earth, and there's a little bit of like a skeleton of something interesting there, but that's it. There's just like a taste of what happened.
I thought Old Earth was the stupidest part of that entire story, just because it was like, dude, I just landed. There's guys on Venus.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, like they built like halves and all this stuff, and it's like, I mean, I thought that whole thing, we sacrificed Earth for to open up the rest. It was like, fuck off, okay? I mean, come on, man. So you're telling me that my lion eyes here? I mean, you let me build a fucking hab on Earth, so it will let you do that. So it's like, wait a minute, I'm the first guy in 200 years to think of this. You know, come on, man. So
Right.
you know, and it was just it was dumb, you know. And then like it was like, oh yeah, go take a look at civilization. It's like, Big Ben, huh? The oldest building in London is still standing. None of the others are.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so I was like,
Right.
the Empire State Building is still standing, and I'm supposedly standing in the middle of Manhattan. This building looks fine. It looks like you didn't have time to render the other ones. You know?
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that
Yeah.
they should have done on Old Earth was have the fucking pyramids. So I'd be like, okay, the rest of it's all dust now. Okay, great. You know, all right, that makes a little bit more sense. But you know, I mean, if Earth was like covered in like toxic gas and was being roamed by, you know, fucking space zombies, that would
Yeah.
make more sense than what they did. So you know,
Again,
was just bad.
That's just, there were at least 6 ideas. So much was cut. So much
Yeah.
was just lightly stapled together. It's just that.
the staple together is a good way to put that. And then, you know, like, so I played Starfield and I turned around and played The Witcher 3 again. And it was like, oh my God. And like, I mean, there's tedious parts in The Witcher 3, but even then, like, there's no, like, you never get this sense that Ciri just needs you like today. Okay, so you can go around and witch about. So, in fact, there's times where they tell you to do that.
Yes.
So, and money doesn't really do that much for you in that game, but when you need it, you really need it.
Yep. Yep.
So, and you never seem to have that much of it. So, whereas like just about it, like GTA, you get so much fucking money after a little while. So why are we robbing banks, man? We should buy a bank.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, that said, GTA is GTA. It is up to. I mean, the game is the game. It's. I think it expects you to waste time and money via the universe. It's like, why do you have all this money? It's like, well, because you didn't blow it on the Santa Monica Pier. Because you haven't been hanging out in strip clubs. Because you haven't been... And again, it's all there.
Yeah.
Right? Now, once you've done it, you've done it. Don't get me wrong. Right. And there's a part where... This is... I guess I am not the average, customer in these games, but... There are a lot of people in these games that when you give them money and it has like additional cars and stuff to buy, they want all those cars. They want to own like all of them.
I'm not like that either.
Yeah. I've got this one. It drives.
It works great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I took this one.
It's even nicer.
It is nicer, yes, but I didn't pay for it.
No.
Right? I opened it with my elbow.
All right, Trevor. Yeah.
So there's that, but I guess that's why a lot of people they have to have this pile of cash because they want to collect all this shit. I don't care. The only thing that mattered to me was weapons, please.
Yeah, all the guns.
Yes.
Yeah, and you go to like what was it? Was it the Second Amendment or?
Yeah.
No, that was Cyberpunk. It was the Second Amendment of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it had a similar name.
Something like that. Yeah,
it was something like that in GTA 5. But yeah, it was that. So and yeah, in Witcher, yeah, you could just find yourself like most of the time you just buy you have money. There's a time where you need that money in the beginning, and you're like, why? You're like, well, because I'm such a puss right now that I have to eat these like potatoes and water and baked apples and shit while I'm fighting to not die.
To not die, yeah. This lady sells dumplings.
That's correct. I need those. And I need these in conjunction with what happens here is I have to watch my swallow very carefully. All my potions suck.
Yeah.
They're not the good versions. Yeah, they're terrible. So, this is the part of the game where it's very 1980s, beat 'em up esque where it's I get my health back from knocking over a trash can and eating a whole chicken.
Right, turkey dinner.
Yep. Like there's some of that, and then eventually you get to the point where this does not matter. And then so you have all this money and you say, well, what am I gonna buy with this?
Yeah.
Equipment. And the equipment can bankrupt you depending on how set you are in terms of how much do I want to spend on equipment? Do I want to find a set and put it all together? So I found the blueprints. Now I have to get this put together. With this set, there's another 5,000. Go see the little dwarf again. Well, he sucks. He's not the actual.
Yeah, he's not the actual guy. So you got to do some shit. Yeah, but I don't remember ever being like filthy rich.
No,
in The Witcher,
because you were spending it.
Yeah, you were spending it. I mean, the game did a good job sucking the money out of you. So, like, where other games not so good about that. I'm trying to think of other games that were actually good at that.
Making you spend money? Well, the thing about the
you got rich as fucking Cyberpunk. So, it took a little time, but you did. Well, okay, so you had the exploits in the beginning where you just scrap everything and sell all the shit.
So, yeah, here's the problem with that was in the first version of Cyberpunk, right? You had to constantly be picking up guns to sell. Right. So you would go into the scene, loot people, right? And then if you were doing crafting, eventually you started breaking those all down for parts.
Yeah. I thought I remember doing that for XP more so than anything else.
Well, it was for that and for the components because
because you needed like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Yeah, I remember that.
And then you took the components to make more components, and then It was tedious.
That was one of the goofiest. That
And that's where you'd end up spending money, is because so when you needed like 2 tier 5s,
yeah.
you'd go to this place. Well, and the other thing,
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
the other thing is in the newer
I did
version
that with quick hacks. So actually,
there you go. Yeah. And in the new version, if you had money, you're going to the mod shop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. So like the last time I played it in the new version, where I did the site the what are they, Edge Runner kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the hack shop in the middle of that fucking pagoda all the time, man, because she always had the components.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
but I would just pay for them. So yeah.
Yep. And there was this other joint where it wasn't a shop; it was like this dude underneath a little bridge.
I remember that guy.
Yeah. I don't remember what else he sold, but he also had these components.
He sold you porn at one point in time in that game.
He did. Yeah, that's right.
Did.
That's him. Yeah. That's true. So yeah, that was the weird piece of it. And then in the newer iteration, it was literally like getting an allowance, because as soon as I had enough to get like mods,
yeah,
I was running to the shop with my money in hand.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I want to see what this can do. I want to change this. I want to change this. I want to change this. Right. Or if in the process of whooping dudes' asses, you came across like mod components. You're like, well, I want to go put this in. Check this out.
Yeah. Well, I remember doing that like every time. Like, so one of the things that they changed, and if you didn't play the the Net Runner, that's what it's called. Not the Edge Runner, Net Runner.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that's a different thing. So you would go around and you'd hack like fucking vending machines and stuff,
right?
You know. So the second one, they took like almost all those points out, but there were occasional places where you could still find those hackable terminals, and they were like a gold mine. So you'd be like, "Oh shit, is that what I think it is?" Wait, I know you guys. We got to do this gunfight, all right? So, but why don't you guys take 5? I'll be right back. Because I need to go mine some components out of this motherfucker.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
So it's completely different. But see, the Witcher's crafting system I thought was one of the better ones that I've ever seen. So just because it had a lot of shit in it, you didn't get penalized for carrying around 1,000 eyeballs.
No.
So, but still, there was stuff in there that you really wanted to make, but it was rare, and so you'd just be stomping around in some part of the world and be like, "Wait a minute, is that shit? Oh my god!" And you just like gather as much of it as you could, because you hadn't seen it anywhere else. So, and lo and behold, it is that shit that you need. You need more of it. You go back and it's gone. And you're like, God damn it. So, it really was kind of like one of these things where you had to keep your eyes peeled if you're trying to make the right kind of potions in that game. And there were a lot of different ways to play that game with the different potions,
Tons.
man. So, yeah.
Tons.
I never, I think it was the second time that I played it, I kind of went down that magic, flamethrower hand.
It's crazy, yeah.
Use a lot of potions kind of thing, and realized that, the buffs that some of them gave you were just insane. So, but I mean, you're all you got your black veins all sticking out and shit. You did a whooping ass on this dude, and then all of a sudden you kill him, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I feel sick. I am very, very sick.
And you know what?
It was well done. That was a good system.
Well, it was a good system, and to be fair, this is one of the things that, again, it depends on who your committee is. Your committee of 6, right?
Right.
I think The Witcher 3 did an amazing job of actually limiting you and saying, you got to commit to a build.
You're going to do one of these things.
You're going to commit to it. We want you to play this again.
Yeah.
And we don't want you to be in the position where you can do all of it at once.
Yeah.
That's not the character we want you to play. That's not... Because
they done fucked that up in Cyberpunk the second time, because you can get a reroll. So...
You know what? And by that point, here's the point I'll make on that one here is that after playing it the first time around, at first, maybe 2 times around, I don't remember. I was having fun with it. But after playing through it, I didn't mind it giving me a reroll because I was on my 3rd time around playing it.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. Yeah.
I would also say, with some of those games, I think that the reroll option should be there, like in the New Game Plus. Or if you've beaten it once, then it pops in there.
Yeah,
right?
Starfield didn't let you do that in New Game Plus.
I think, well, Starfield again. That's a game where the re-roll in theory was
Oh
going
yeah,
through
it's
that.
everything else, not you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so that makes
right.
sense. See, man, that's what pissed me off about that game. It's such a really good base idea.
Tons,
There, yeah,
tons.
it's a really, really promising idea, but it's they fucked it.
No,
So,
it's just, this is your friend where you're like, brother, you have 134 IQ, but why are you failing English?
right? Yeah.
You have to do the homework,
You're
man.
right. Yeah.
Stay
Do
away
the
from
homework.
those drugs.
Right. Yeah. That's
Why are you hanging out with the wrong crowd,
right,
man?
yeah. It's like you're gonna be the smartest man in prison.
Why? Why do you have a tattoo that was put on with like a compass needle, not a?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was all potential. Terrible delivery. Like again, the one thing that you should get more so than anything else is if you're gonna have a game like this, aside from everything else, make sure the gunplay mechanics feel great. And they did not feel great. They felt
The the gunplay was fine. Their gun choices were dumb.
that's part of it.
Yeah, I know. I got you. See, like there's no game out there that I'll give more props to for its gunplay than Cyberpunk, and I know that some people think that's controversial, but
It shouldn't be.
no, the gunplay in that game is phenomenal. So like the mechanics in like both Fallout 4 and Starfield are fine.
Exactly.
But Starfield,
Fine.
yeah, but Starfield does I mean, like they got like two laser guns. They both suck ass.
Correct.
They take a lot of points to get any good. So, and it just becomes, and then you start to realize, it's like, wait a minute, there's two of these, there's 50 of these.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't I go do those? And then, like, whoever's in charge of their art for guns, it's like, in Fallout, it's like, yeah, you made it out of a pipe, I get it. So there were still, like, some normie guns in that game,
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. You could occasionally find like an AK-47, but
Oh, sure, yeah. Or just double barrel shotgun, you had that in that game. So. But then, like in Fallout, it was like square bullets, really?
yeah. Well, and then you watch it and you see that round shells are coming out.
Right? Yeah. So
It's unreal. Well, there was this guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. He's a big time Fallout modder, and he went in. He did a couple of things that I think are fascinating. He totally rebalanced the game off of a different concept. He said, "All right, so I need you guys to understand something about weapons." It's like, yeah. Going up levels does not make the guns any more lethal.
right.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's like, but it would change other attributes about using the guns.
You're more
that would-
accurate. Yeah.
Correct. So he rebalanced the entire game, where your bullets and your weapons are more accurate starting on level 1, as are the enemies. Right.
Oh, so they auto level.
Well, no, they don't auto level. I mean, this is the thing: is you do improve as the game goes, but it's not as though you're going to sit there and he's counting and he's like, "Look, I'm going to go ahead and spawn these guys right here." It's like I'm level 1, all right, and he's just doing headshot after headshot after headshot on a goon. He's like, "Guys,
Oh yeah.
this feels awful.
Yeah.
This is not how this is
Yeah.
supposed to work."
Yeah.
He's like, this worked in basically turn-based games,
Yeah.
right? But this feels terrible.
No, it doesn't work in a first person shooter. So, and I did notice, or I mean, in an adventure game like that, I did notice that like when I did the replay after they did the update to Cyberpunk was like in the beginning, you're sitting there and you're just plugging this guy left and right
Yeah.
with your little Liberty pistol. It's like I remember in the base game, this gun was actually pretty fucking good. You could hang
Yeah,
on to it for
yeah.
a while, And it was like it made V feel kind of like actually he did do some shit on the street for a bit, or whatever. And then they adjusted that. Like so like I don't know, I'm a little bit of a purist on this. Just because I think that like you don't really need to bake in systems just for the sake of new systems in order to actually have like progression and gunplay. It takes you a little time to actually get used to like whatever the trigger pull, the delay, like
Yeah.
the reload speed, all that different stuff that you naturally get better at it, without any system in the game. And so if you get and the best mechanic that I've seen is like I played Arma for a long time. So
Did you really?
dude, I
Oh,
got fucking hooked on that shit thanks to a mod. That was one of the mods out there that, like, yeah, I did kind of talk smack about mods, but this mod did make that game infinitely better. So, it
what was it?
was called Antistasi, and so the thing about it was that Arma itself is basically you can make like toy soldier
Yeah.
battles,
Yeah.
and they're very realistic, man. I mean, so it's got realistic ballistics and explosion effects and everything like that in there, and you realize how lethal modern combat is almost immediately. So, because battles last like a minute, you know? So it's not, this is no Doom match. So what they did was they turned around and they created this Anastasi mod where you're just a guy and you've got a truck and a crate full of guns, and you got to go around and recruit the guys to get them in your army so you can build squads, so you can take out their squads and then steal their weapons, which are better than yours, and then you can arm your guys with those weapons, and eventually you take over the world. It takes place on an island.
Okay.
It's a fascinating mod. It takes hours to play. Okay, but the thing about Arma that like I really liked about it was, like bullet hit mechanics are realistic in that game.
Velocity.
Velocity, everything,
Flow,
they'll ricochet and
yeah.
stuff like that. So you can actually like, if you got guys that are coming down a road, you don't shoot at them, you shoot at their feet. All right, and you spray bullets into them, and they
Yeah.
all just like. And but the other thing is like, you get good at gunplay in that game because you realize that one hit, you are dead. You are on your ass. So, and if there's a guy there who can get you up, great. But there's no stim pack in yourself. All right. You got to be medevaced. So, and then you wake up a little bit later. You're all better now. So, but that teaches you a lot of discipline in terms of like, you actually get better at the game because the game punishes you in the beginning. And I mean, you just don't see that mechanic very often in shooters anymore. So, because people just don't tolerate it. It's like, what do you mean? I only take one bullet? It's like, yeah, you only take one hit, man. It's like, oh, I had all like ballistic vest. He hits you in between the eyes.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah. Some people just don't like that, but I think it's a good mechanic. And, like, quite honestly, I wish more games would use it. So,
well, Battlefield does. I mean,
you're right. Battlefield does.
they do, and there are the people over there that like it, and
I
then
haven't played that one in a long time.
there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. I don't again. I have way different expectations for those kind of games, man. So the term they use on that is hit scan. That's what they've been using the whole time.
Hit scan? What does that mean?
Basically, like dot is here.
Yeah.
I press for button for bullet. If it's there, there's your true false. Right.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Is if the dot's on you when I press
That's
the
a
button,
hit.
that's a hit.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Versus.
Actually, modeling.
Oh yeah. And then Battlefield, like if a dude is that far down that way,
Yeah.
like you have to aim this high up because the bullet will drop.
That's how Arma is.
Yep. Yep. And again, there's something about that I appreciate, but there's also a piece where it's sort of like if I go in a game to race basically a Ferrari F60 or whatever, right? There's a version of this where you can get a little bit too technical,
Right,
where
yeah.
it's not fun. So, a lot of times with those and I guess I can't critique this shit because I haven't played a competitive FPS in
It's been a while.
6 years
Yeah,
at
it's
this
been a
point.
minute.
So I guess, maybe if I jumped into something, I'd get a kick out of it. But I know back then, I just, I was there for a little bit more arcadey fun.
Yeah, I would say with an FPS I was too. It's just like there's just some games out there, and I don't know if there's a way around this or someone's gonna actually figure this out at some point in time. But just like all the games that I've played over the last like maybe 2-3 years, man, are you bloodthirsty? So
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
and it's just it gets to the point in time. It's like, man, has there ever been like, and it's been a while since I remember this, but remember like the Indiana Jones games back in the day? You didn't kill nobody. So
Very rarely.
I don't think you ever did. So um, you could accidentally kill your dad if you didn't put the chair lining up with
That's
the
true.
mark.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I got you. I
You could
got
get your
you.
head sliced off in the camera, but that game's a lot of fun. You're not killing anybody, And now it's
You know
like,
what? They would die at the end.
okay, yeah, they would die at the end.
But
Yeah,
like a movie. But
yeah,
yeah, to be fair, like in comparison, Indy did shoot a lot of fucking Nazis in the movies.
he did shoot a lot of Nazis, but not like 300.
No, there were a bunch of them like in that tank.
Yeah.
Well, like that.
He shot those guys with that one gun. It went through like six of them. Yeah.
He did that, and when they were on the when the truck got next to the tank shell, and no,
No, that was his dad.
that was
That was his dad.
fucking a lot of guys died. Fucking Marion shot a bunch of them.
Marion did shoot a lot of them.
Machine gun the shit out of them.
Yeah. So.
And I guess you could argue that the propeller killed that guy instead of.
Well, that guy or the rock crusher or whatever.
Right.
Shoots the one guy in the market. I get it, but that's not my point, man.
Yeah.
My point is like, if you pull up your kill stats in like Cyberpunk, you are a one-man army. So you kill like 1,000 people. So, I mean, Red Dead 2 was even worse, man. You kill so many fucking people in Red Dead 2. And it's just like, dude, everybody, like, or even like Trevor, it was like everybody in America would know who Trevor is.
At least, well, again, at least the thing about Trevor is that he was a psychopath, and
That's a psychopath.
to that end, he's the only one that felt real and detached from it because everybody else treats it like this is fucking normal.
Right,
So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
the body count of Max Payne 1 and 2,
Oh my God.
right? Because
God, I played those games so much.
and they were fun.
They were
They
fun.
were way fun. But I gotta tell you, I don't think there's a game I've played where you put down more people in one evening
The Max Payne 2.
than Max Payne. Maybe I think the second one because it's longer, but
You put down a lot of guys in the first one.
you do
Yeah, a lot.
tons, and we're talking about like 30 guys per room, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
you're doing this with style and everything. That's cool, but
I remember how cool that was, the bullet time.
it was look. I think
was a
it's
great
still
mechanic.
a great mechanic. I think it's still fun, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is he would also talk about this shit like it was normal.
Right.
Like this, he's like, oh, I was a cop. He's like, this is just another night. Like,
Yeah.
what night?
Yeah.
What night are you
It's the night
talking
the
about?
NYPD fell.
Jesus
At the hands
Christ!
of one
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely some. I get you in the. Okay, all right. This was something I did laugh at here because there was there's a person. She's European. She was playing Red Dead 2, and she caught some shit for this, and I was like definitely laughing, because she thought she's like I didn't think it was like this because it's in the past. I thought it was like that because this is Texas. She was catching shit. It's like, no, we had the people are like, we actually have like actual Applebee's in Texas, and
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you're not gonna get held up on the side of the road. So, here's private property, the Lemoyne Rangers.
but yeah,
There's a toll.
but at least yeah, in GTA 5, yeah, it's you have Trevor. You're like, I'm gonna kill you and your fucking family.
Yeah. He's got an M60.
So I'm like, all right, well that sort of tracks. I mean,
That one kind of tracks, but I mean that's just that's just one of the nuances of that game. So it just seems like so many games are so dependent on gunplay. So is that the most fun thing that you do in most of these games? I would say actually, yeah. It's all the combat more so than anything else. I mean, just because there's just not that much I mean, there's just not that much else to it. I mean, so it's like Cyberpunk, you can hack and you like I would challenge myself by doing some of those jobs, those gigs, by going into a place and not getting spotted.
Sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that was hard. So,
Yes.
and then so sometimes you just be like, especially after put the raptor claws out.
Correct. Yes. You're fighting your instincts to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just complete. But I mean, the setting in that game kind of lends itself to it. There's trash bags everywhere.
There
There's gonna
are
be bodies in many of them. Whatever.
yes, and don't get me wrong. And so part of that is again with the spirit of the city, with the character of the city going on. There's a lot of bad shit going on at all times in
Yeah.
any places where, like, say for example, all right, I remember when I was playing Blade Runner. And like the first
I
time
love that game.
that I accidentally blew away a civilian and threw him in a dumpster, and it was that actually like that was like terrifying.
I'm gonna get busted.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The more games should have that. So
I'm gonna get busted. Yeah,
I'm gonna
this
get
is-
busted. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not gonna work out. They should go. Oh man, I forgot how much I love that game.
Were you talking about now?
That game had like 9 different endings, and I think I only ever found 2 of them. So
It's crazy.
yeah,
It's crazy, and some of them are. I think that was the thing is some of them were cut off from the beginning, and some of them were completely dependent on the choices and what you did and
some
what
of
you
them
found.
were
and,
very. I mean, it was very subtle choices that changed it. So that was a well written game. It was short too, so it would only take you a few hours to play it.
The first playthrough takes a while, but
It does.
After the second, because sometimes when you're just fucking around with like the finding the photos and all this other stuff, and you're zipping through, you're like, "What do you want me to find here?"
Yeah,
God,
pixel hunting.
Jesus Christ! Yeah, and
It's like no.
then you hit something and it spins around 360 degrees. I'm like, that's it? There's no way for me to think. It's like you expecting me to see the reflection off this dude's glasses when he's looking the other direction.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you fucking crazy? And then after you've played it like the first time, you know,
Click.
yes,
Yeah.
you're not fucking around. But the first time around, you did have those. It's like, son of a bitch, what is the problem here?
I do remember that blasting a civilian. I didn't realize you could do that in that game. So
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
And then there were other times where there was this gun store owner who talked a lot of trash.
yeah,
And,
he was behind a cage though, wasn't he?
well, he was behind the desk.
Okay.
And if you right-clicked, you'd whip out your gun.
Right.
And you could then put it away, right? And he would say something when you took it out. He would say, like, don't take it out if you're not going to use it.
Right,
And then you're
yeah.
like, okay, no problem. You put it away. You draw it again, and he blasts you.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
But if knowing that if you accidentally did it, and you're like, well, he's going to kill me if I put it away again, I'm going to shoot him.
Yeah.
And you could get away with it.
And you didn't buy guns anymore.
That is correct. Yes, it had these consequences. You know, these weird. I remember there was this spot when you're in the sewers, and they had these like I don't know what to call them other than like they were reject replicants. Like they were.
Oh yeah.
And there was one of us where you make that decision. You're like, well, actually, you are what I'm looking for. And there's this dude that you can shoot like 49 times. Just he's close to the front. He's at his desk looking away from you, and you can just shoot the shit out of him. And he's just it's like, well, it's my job.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he's there's a couple of dudes down there. You're in the sewers, and there's a couple of like rows of computers, and there's weird dudes. Like one dude's typing, he gets a little bit lippy with you, and that's just something you don't do with me in games. Give me
No, me neither. Yeah.
give me the respect I'm owed.
Yeah.
Always. Manners cost nothing. Just be nice to me.
I'm so nice. Like Red Dead, howdy, man. We did that in the first Red Dead.
Yes.
Just constantly. And if someone like gave you any lip, it's like, really?
I remember,
You know who I am.
I know there was some dude in Red Dead who
I'm Herbert, man.
no. There's like some dude that Was it the five finger fillet guy that would just drive you nuts?
Oh, yeah.
I was okay with it, but there was like one guy that would say something to you that just drove you nuts, and if you hurt him, you'd plug his
There
ass every
was something
time.
like that. I can't remember what it was. That was in the first game.
Yeah.
That wasn't the second game. Yeah. He was a Mexican dude. I remember that. I don't remember what he used to say, though. There was something that he used to say.
It just caught you the wrong way.
Yeah,
Man.
it just blasted him, you know? But see, that game, you kind of had it. Well, I mean, the cops would chase you, and especially in Mexico, where you take down about 1,000 federales. You know,
Again,
so
I
and then
know,
just run across the bridge and say, "Nyeh, nyeh, 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 nyeh."
That's the problem. It's like so close to reality, but
So far removed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Now, Blade Runner is pretty good. The other one that I was thinking of a minute ago that was actually pretty good on some of that stuff was actually L.A. Noir. So
Oh, yeah,
yeah. So that game,
right.
yeah, you didn't kill anybody until
No.
well, maybe like one or two guys, but not till the end. And then all of a sudden, you have this fucking platoon-sized gun battle where you kill like 500 dudes.
That's the one in the warehouse with the ice.
Yeah,
That's one of them. Okay,
that's
so
one, no, it's the end battle where you storm the dude's fucking hacienda, so or whatever.
well, there were a couple of them. Yeah,
You're right. There were a
There was
couple
one
of
when you're
them.
on Vice Squad, and
I do remember the ice one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the warehouse. You do waste quite a few guys in the warehouse, but you
that's
did.
right.
You didn't pick up different guns in that game. I mean, you had a shotgun in your truck if you needed it, but if you didn't answer the radios to do those calls, I mean, that was another game that could have been a lot better, but
Look,
it had its moments.
Here's the thing. I for what it was,
It was good.
I had fun with it.
Yeah, I did too.
You can't get hung up on what could have been. It's just,
Right.
you know, eventually, like you said, because if I recall that game was a scandal and a half because it cost $100 million at the time.
It was something crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it bankrupted the Team Bondi studio.
Right.
Right. But they were under Rockstar's wing, so they still published it.
Right.
But that was the trick. But the 100 million, like when they talk about how games like fucking God, that's that stupid hero shooter that just got Concord, that was like 250 $300 million they spent on this thing.
Bananas.
And what's funny is the Marvel Rival game is kicking all of their asses.
Totally. Yeah.
And I look at it and I'm seeing people playing it and they're having fun. Like, I actually see people having fun in this game, and there's a part of me that says, I could do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this. Like, because, again, it's that same... It's just... they got lines of Coke on the table, man, and they're just kind of like, hey, it's there. They got a little straw right here. It's like, go ahead and jump right in. It's like, I don't want to. I've been through this, man. I got out.
I've been here, man. I got out.
Yeah. It's like, do you want me to show you my fucking like 600-day chip? Like, this is
Right.
this is like, because I will get involved in this again, man.
Yeah.
If I get hooked on this shit, I will totally be sunk into this.
I can see that happening. I can see you building your own joysticks again. So
I thought about it, but there's a component where, yes, and I'm well aware that there are people my age and older that are still on that competitive circuit and having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, for me, the actual local component of guys like talking trash, that's what I really miss. I'm like, that's not the same. You know, playing online with people is not the same. Everybody actually wants to win, and that's
not the point. The internet's just not fun. It's not a fun place anymore.
no.
So it really isn't. You know, you never know who you're talking to. You never kind of like really know. I mean, even like I don't know. Like I got the Telegram on my phone now, man, and the fucking people texting me all the time. It's just like, I don't know you. Stop this. You know,
the block button. I know.
Yeah, I know. Just off you go. You know, same thing on Twitter. It's like, follow me back. It's like, no. So I don't know who you are. So fuck off. So, you know, I don't need this. So I'm not here to get monetized. So, you know, but then there's like other things where it's just like, okay, so there's new niches out there that you can find on the internet that are fine. You know, but like gaming is just, it's such a cesspool of I mean, there really is. There's a heavy asshole streak, in certain communities that it's just not going to go away, man.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, like, I did scrap the whole YouTube channel over it, man. Because I didn't think train guys would turn out to be assholes, but oh my God. So it's just like, come on, man.
It is weird. And I don't. It's not that I could say that. I would argue that there's probably the same percentage of assholes
You're probably right.
in the whole hobby. It's just that the hobby was smaller. That there was a little bit more of.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's bigger than movies, man. For crying out loud.
Yeah, and part of it too was just you got what you got.
Yeah.
There were times where you just played what you had, and
Yeah.
if you made a mistake, if you spent the $50 or this was a birthday gift, well, you're playing this for another 6 months.
Yep, I played a lot of Jaws.
Jaws a good game?
No, it's a terrible game, Jeff. So,
Does it have good components to it?
It has some. Very few.
Is the gameplay loop pretty boring after an hour?
Gameplay loop is horrifyingly bad. Yeah.
Could you... So if I recall correctly, if I were to give this like the pitch and say like, what do? It's like you sail from this port to this port.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes jellyfish kill you.
Yes. And sometimes you kill them.
Sometimes you bomb them. And
from an airplane.
Yes. And if you've gone to these two ports enough, you can stab Jaws.
Jaws will show up. Yeah, you can stab him with the boat after you get him to jump out of the water.
That's correct.
Yep, and he makes a little rrr sound. Great game, man.
$50.
$50. Fork it over. We bought that. So
actually, again, here's the weird thing is I don't know if it was just my age at that time or the medium was young. It actually still felt like a full game, like not.
It did. I mean, well, it came in a cartridge, so you knew it was finished. Oh wow, how naive we were.
Spoiled, perhaps. I don't know.
It came in a box, man. It must be done.
Yeah, it had a manual and everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had extra goons working on the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And professional box art. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. So I mean, it's a little bit weird, and it's to me. The interesting thing about it is that for my tastes, I feel like it's that accordion. I feel like it's actually it got really big there, got really big for its britches, right? And then all that excess comes in and it's being squeezed out.
Yeah.
And the weird individual esoteric, because they're at some point, with all the weird progressive people that go along with trains, which is weird. Because there are...
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And I mean offensively progressive.
Yeah.
There's still, there's a good chance that if you give it another couple of weeks, they will make a game that is Pat's N-Scale Train Simulator 2025.
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck off.
Not made by you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
but for you.
It's possible.
Right? Maybe not that specific, but specific enough to the point where you're saying, wow, I can actually build my scale model trains here in a realistic physics way in this game.
You can't, yeah, that's not too far away. Maybe a couple years. But see, I think, so some of it is like, so it's not easy to build these things. I'm learning that.
Right.
Okay. Right. And the bigger that you're ambitious, so like building a Witcher product absolutely takes 150 guys. Right. And 8 years. Right. So I get that. Okay. Yes. So now I understand that. Maybe at some point in time you'll be able to procedurally generate a lot of that shit, but whatever. So
yes.
Without it sucking, that's going to be different. So
Yes.
But then the other thing is it's almost like cooking. In some respects, everybody likes to eat. All right. So right. A lot of people like to play games. All right. So we don't all have to go to, Vegas to eat. So at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. Got it.
Right.
Okay. But, you can't go somewhere local and get something good to eat, Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty comparable. And so, Steam has kind of turned into that. So now there's not a geographic location associated with it, but there's certainly genre locations.
Absolutely.
Where it's like, hey, this is a small place that, makes really good, Italian grinders. Come buy one, and so, it's not going to cost. See, that's the other thing that's hilarious still is the $60 price point. I mean, if you look at the difference, it's been $60 for 30 years. So, and inflation has not stayed the same.
I mean, don't get me, all right. So there are some games that cost $70 off the jump. There are some games.
You're not doing that well. I mean,
well, no, because all right. So if I'm going to pay $70 off the jump,
it better be fucking good.
Well, so there's a couple of things. Number one, when I download it, I'd better hit play and start playing right now. There better not be a fucking 32 gig patch on day one.
Right.
If you're charging me $70, it better be done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it better not be, hey, we're aware of these bugs. It's like, no, for $70, you found the bugs.
And fixed them. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And when you charge me for something else, it's because it's another component of the game, not something where I can tell you clipped here, and took it out to put it back in. Right. You can charge me more for it. And again, they also have, to their credit, man, they also have free-to-play modes, right? They have plenty of games like that where, how do you make your money? Well, if you're going to be here looking at this character for 60 hours, you're going to buy some skins for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And they do well. Some of them do. Other ones are just, God, these characters are ugly and they suck. I don't want to play as these people.
No, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
No, I've seen that. And I mean, so yeah, that's probably a part of it in the future. But quite honestly, the price point just, it's not going to hold. I mean, because like we're not all eating at 4-star Michelin restaurants anymore. So there's going to be a lot of people out there making games. There's going to be a lot of games at that $10 to $15 price point that are going to be great. So they're going to be absolutely fantastic. The thing is like, you're going to be living on a different part of the internet than I am. So you have a Schlotsky's there and I have like a Blimpie here.
Yeah.
We'll never eat each other's sandwiches,
Nope.
and I just won't even know about it, so it's just going to work out that way.
Yeah, and much like we're seeing with the movies here, there is sort of that same accordion effect here, where it used to be when we were young, all right? We had just gotten out of the 60s, 70s, that period they went through. In the 80s, they had basically this setup here. It is, you'd have one or two big summer blockbusters.
Yeah.
And a handful, like a fair amount of medium-ranged movies, right? Where you can tell they spent some money, but at the same time,
not the same amount,
it's not Star Wars, it's not anything like that. So much in the same way with movies, they have like 5 movies that they're going to spend a fortune on, right? They're going to have way more medium-priced movies, and then a bunch of movies down here where it's like, hey, we only spent $15 million, so if it takes off, great.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how it used to be. And so this is the same, like, gaming is the same way. They all got... Pat, I mean, you've seen this a million times. You know how this works. You probably know the term for it, where you look at the sine wave and you think the top of the sine wave is just going to keep going up.
Right, mine always go up.
But it's a wave. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's probably a term for that where you think it's just like you forget that it's cyclical.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. And so in COVID, when everybody stayed home, movies and video games.
A lot of money got poured into that. Especially since everybody's getting free checks. So
correct. Yeah. And all these studios and all these places and all these game places, they hired like crazy.
Well, and the other problem with games is, and so that hasn't changed, all right? So that expansion and contraction, popularity and decline, that's normal. The thing that has fundamentally changed is that there's like a lot of people now who, like they've never known a world without video games.
It's true, yeah.
All right, so they want to be involved in it. Or they want to be involved in something else, but there's still the opportunity to actually get involved through the games in one way or another. And so, like, I know you're shaking your head on this one, and I agree with you on this, but still at the same point in time, we're going to start seeing some of that. Same thing that happened with movies, all right? So you're going to get, like, 2 more Indiana Jones games because that thing was fucking, commercially successful.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it didn't lose money, so that's a lot of games do that nowadays.
I right, fair enough.
You know, so I mean, as far as Disney's concerned, that one's a success, and so that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a couple clones of that, and like you said, you're always gonna have your Call of Duties, you're always gonna have your Maddens and stuff like
Evergreen
that,
stuff. Yep.
your evergreen stuff, and quite honestly, some of the more interesting things are gonna be like the Valheims that come out over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, because obviously, like some of the bigger titles that got a little too big for their britches and started doing stupid things, Skylines. So,
Yep.
they're going to take a hit on that and they deserve it, So,
Yep.
there's just going to be a thing where in order to be one of those big guys like the EA or the Disney Studios, you have to have an IP that's evergreen. So, you're going to crank out Star Wars games, you're going to crank out Indiana Jones games, you're going to crank out EA, NFL games. So, whatever. So, and then like studios like Bethesda, I mean, they completely flubbed, fucking Starfield. So Elder Scrolls is apparently on the horizon somewhere. I'm not confident they're not going to fuck it up. So,
This is the problem.
same thing with CD Projekt Red and Witcher 4. Witcher 4, it might be great. But I mean, if they fuck it up, I'll be like, well, that figures.
Well, let me just put it this way: is all right. So they seem like an established studio, but when you get down to it, they have all of 4 games released total, right?
Right, but they have hundreds of employees now, man. So they're big dog.
They are with basically, and here's the thing: they already the all these guys that we've talked about, the main staff, the founding staff, they've all left to form other studios.
Yep.
All the dudes from BioWare, they formed a
they've
new
been gone for
studio.
a
I mean,
while.
that's the thing is so they're seeing basically like a lack of control or direction that they can approve of. I get it. That's how every business works. Like that's I mean,
if you want to do the $200 million project, you have to invite other people to the table. So unless you have the cash.
I don't. This is maybe this would be the project that I don't want to say project, but the thing I put to you, Patrick, is how do you keep the people on staff, basically like the founders on staff. I don't want to say forever.
You don't.
But is it just like inevitable? Is it just a
Yeah.
point like that's the cycle of every?
It is, man, because so the opposite of that is if you get the founder that stays forever, you get Howard Hughes. So,
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, then that happens, and there's a lot of companies that kind of suffer from that. I mean, Tesla might turn into one of them someday. I just don't think Elon will be able to pay attention to it long enough. So, I mean,
Patrick.
he's in his 50s, dude. He's got a ways to go. So, I mean, I can't see him doing like all the projects that he's doing now in 10 years. They're going to be different projects.
A terrorist blew up a Cybertruck in front of a Trump building in Las Vegas today.
I did. My mom told me about that, and I had to go look it up, man. So, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's a fire." I was like, "No, that's a bomb."
That's a bomb.
That's a bomb.
Fuel and fireworks.
Well,
And the nice thing, of course, is that the only person it killed was the driver.
what was it? Yeah, we don't know. It was a suicide bombing. Must have been.
Well, all they know is that because it was a Tesla Cybertruck, it actually sent the explosion upward.
Yeah.
And would have killed a lot more if they'd done it with any other kind of vehicle.
Well, yeah, that's because all the weight in that thing's in the bottom. So
Correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was not a fire.
Well, and it doesn't have a gas tank in it, so there you go.
But it
Yeah.
does have that battery. But
It does have a battery.
But yeah, it was not a fire. And
My
I guess
understanding is the batteries don't really explode; they just burn.
they can explode.
Oh, okay.
They can explode. But this also, like that the New Orleans thing is horrific too.
So yeah, I didn't know about
I
that.
can't believe this shit.
So that one doesn't strike me as being quite as surprising. It's been a little while since we've had an incident like that, and that's not to say that's a good thing, but
And they're finding pipe bombs in New Orleans today.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
knows where that guy was before he was there?
Yeah,
Who knows?
But anyway, I don't mean to bring that up, but yeah, just you mentioned Tesla, and I'm like, this is just a weird.
That Trump thing is that's a little on the nose, and so we're gonna have to find out who the guy was. I'm sure they will pretty soon. So I mean, if he was driving a Cybertruck, somebody knows who he was.
Well, it was a rented Cybertruck.
Oh, it was rented Cybertruck.
So I'm pretty sure they know.
I didn't know
who it
you could
is.
rent a Cybertruck. So.
Oh yeah, it's
okay.
Las Vegas, dude.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I mean, you can rent Ferraris. You can rent anything.
You're right. You're
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But okay. So yeah, that's just. I like your business perspective on that. That's absolutely true, isn't it? Is unless the business basically stays at like an equilibrium for.
If it's like Marlboro cigarettes, no problem, because like the way that business works, or like Cargill or Hershey's or whatever, if it's a staple product that just doesn't change, sure. Okay, but if it's in any innovative thing, and game studios in particular, like, your development cycle is 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 years long. Okay, so if I'm a founder, you're going to get like 2 or 3 projects out of me. Okay, I'm not going to stay there for 60 fucking years. So,
All of them did, but not that often, yeah.
like even Sid Meier burned out after a while, man. Come on. So,
well, they had those dudes that stuck around at LucasArts for like 20
years, but I mean,
but that's still,
the studio's not going to outlive that. So, in that case.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's too liquid of a market. It's too easy to poach talent. It's too easy to find new talent. Okay, because it's not exactly, you don't exactly have this dearth of people. This isn't like male nurses. Okay, you're not having trouble finding
Right.
people who want to be a part of
Right.
the industry. In fact, like they'll beat a path to your door and put up free shit on GitHub just to get your attention. So,
Hey, dude, id Software should have been the studio for
yeah, but it's run by 2 psychopaths. So, I mean,
free, to be honest.
right,
with you.
yeah. So,
well,
yeah.
2 okay.
2 clinical ones.
Yeah, 2 clinical psychopaths and a super libertarian.
And a super libertarian, yeah. So, no, man, I mean, you don't really want the founders involved in a business, like forever. So, because eventually all businesses mature, and when they mature, that's when they get serious about, like, okay, so it's about, we got to make money, all right? Because eventually, like, even Jeff Bezos gets to the point in time, he's like, fuck it. I'm going to build a $1 billion yacht, all right?
Yeah.
And marry a hot Mexican girlfriend on a secret wedding in, Vegas, whatever. So, whatever. Okay, so he's obviously not paying attention to Amazon anymore. Okay, so eventually, if you have a successful business and you have successful founders, those founders, their attention is going to divert from the business.
Right.
Okay, so, or like Musk is a good example of this. He does one company, it's fine, it's economically viable. Okay, what does he do? He's like, well, I'm going to take all the money that I'm making from that, and I'm going to go do this, and then that thing becomes economically viable. And he says, well, I'm going to take all this money that I got, I'm going to buy Twitter. For probably about triple what it was worth, but whatever. Okay, I can do that. See, so like even his attention, you can't keep it there. And so the problem with game studios is they're like movies. Okay, and games are kind of like movies too. So there's a reason why Ridley Scott's movies have started to suck. So there's a reason why James Cameron decided to go be an oceanographer and then maybe make a couple of these blue people movies in between. In order to I don't know, make his studio happy or whatever, but that's not his point. That's not what he's about, so, but
yeah.
So games are going to be kind of the same way. I mean, you're probably going to have a couple lead developers out there who actually have their shit kind of together and have a good, idea, but they don't need a company around them. Okay. Just like, James Cameron doesn't need Fox. Okay, there's 5 other companies that underwrite his projects out there. Okay, fine. All right, cool. So it's not a company, it's a man. Okay, it's a guy. All right, and I think game studios would be kind of the same way because ultimately it's a creative art. So, I mean, like Kiss is a band. Okay, do they really need their label? No. Yes. So, they're going to be existing in perpetuity thanks to AI, but whatever.
But that's what you get.
That's what you get.
You know what? Once you've gone ahead and put the same songs on your 15th greatest album, hits album, you get replaced by AI. And that's what you get.
I think they're going to monetize AI. So don't worry about it, man. So, they'll be fine. Or their great-great-grandchildren will be fine. But if you do get that one guy who's like 100% vested in the business, okay, and it's my way or that's your Howard Hughes dude, man. So,
Patrick.
What?
So what we do.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we AI the Beatles,
Ooh.
and we put them back together and tell the AI to write Beatles style songs that continue where they were at the time.
Hmm. Well, you shouldn't have said that on the air.
Well, so if somebody does that,
You have no claim to it now.
well, no, I will know that one of the 8 listeners is the one who stole it from
Oh
me.
yeah, okay. We'll be able to track them down. That's not that many people. Yeah. In fact, it might be
But you
down
see what
to,
I'm saying?
might be down to 4. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many people would basically buy it? Like, how many people would jump in for a using the composite of what you have here, like the 5th Nirvana album, if you were able to compose that and say, like, look, this is what they sounded like at this point. These were what the trends were. This is what we expected.
Enough to make some money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you. Yeah, there'd be some people that'd be interested, but of course you can have the other people who's like, well, I know those guys are dead, so
Well, yeah.
yeah, so
But that's fine.
it is fine, as long as you're not fooling anybody. So
But we're not trying to pretend that
yeah,
they're
okay,
alive.
all right. Then I think that'd be okay.
Oh, all right. All right. All right. Okay.
I'm gonna buy your record.
Milky the Dead.
Milk in the Dead.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
I'm hitting the button.
All right.